Hello and welcome to Business Daily. Here we bring you up to speed with happenings in the world of business as well as analysis from the capital market. I am Yusuf Akogu. It's day 2 of the aviation workers' strike ongoing in Lagos and other parts of the country, but mostly well pronounced in Lagos. And our correspondent who has been monitoring the situation, Abdulateef Aliyu, joins us via phone now to give us an update. Hello, Abdulateef. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, Abdulateef, you'll be monitoring this situation. This is not new. Can you tell us what is the situation right now?
Okay, good morning. The situation right now is the aviation unions which started their today running strike yesterday have more or less strategized. And what I mean by that is that when I got to the venue of the protest yesterday around the general aviation terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, I only saw about 6 police patrols that have taken over the venue, protest venue, and I couldn't see any of the union members around. So when I later found out from them, what they did was to change strategy by staging a procession from the domestic airport down to the international airport. And as I'm talking to you, they are presently at the access gate towards the international wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport. And particular procession is actually causing serious business for those connecting the international terminal from the domestic terminal. And the business actually started from the MMA2 terminal down to the Air Force, the SAM, up to the international airport terminal. That's exactly what they have done. This procession is ongoing at the moment, and security authorities are also on ground to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order.
Abdulateef, the workers kept talking about the issue of demand. Federal government not being able to meet their demand. Can you tell us what are these demands that they've been talking about for years?
Yes, basically there are 2 demands. One of the demands has to do with condition of service of the workers. And when we are talking about this condition of service, they were talking about the consequential adjustment of minimum for some staff of the agency, like the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, for instance. And also, they are also demanding the implementation of condition of service, which they actually signed the federal government as far back as 2019. And the second demand basically has to do with asking the federal government to stop the planned demolition of aviation agencies offices in Lagos. You recall that in 2020, the Minister of Education directed all aviation agencies to relocate to Abuja. Some of the staff have actually relocated to Abuja, just like in difference to the directive. But we have a whole lot of aviation workers who are in Lagos. And what the unions are saying is that they are not against relocating to Abuja, but at the moment there are no alternative offices for them to stay in Abuja. And they are saying that even those who have relocated to Abuja at the moment, they don't have offices to use. So what they are insisting on, if you want to relocate them to Abuja, all the conditions of service, the various relocation allowances, accommodation allowances, and so on and so forth must be paid. And that is exactly what they are saying. So yesterday there was a statement from the Ministry of Aviation appealing to this aviation union to hello?
Yeah, if you can hear me, before the workers down to on Monday, there was a meeting with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority earlier on Sunday, which ended in a stalemate. Is it that the authority are not really able to meet this demand, or what exactly is the issue?
Yes, what the unions are saying is that they have actually given enough room for negotiation, for roundtable discussion with the federal government and so on. That the federal government has failed to actually fulfill the next of this demand. When the FCA had a meeting with them, the meeting was led by the Director General of the Civil Aviation, Captain Musa Noor, and the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Aviation was also in attendance. But what the unions are saying is that before they can actually agree to solve this strike, they must see some level of commitment from the federal government. I.e., they must see that the federal government is ready to pay the consequential adjustment of minimum wage, especially to staff of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. So, after this meeting with the NCADG, the meeting was actually done virtually via Zoom between 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now, they now call them into the meeting to Abuja. Now, the unions are saying that ordinarily the meeting that was supposed to take place in Abuja would have had the presence of the Ministry of Labour, which is actually in charge of Labour Affairs as far as the country is concerned. So they're not saying that they are ready to meet them in Lagos if the staff of the Federal Ministry of Labour, the NCA, and other relevant all council Lagos president, they are ready to sit down with them, and that was exactly why they decided to go ahead with the strike.
All right. Abdul Latif Ali, I must thank you very much for that update. We'll keep tab on you to get more update as the strike progresses.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, we take a short breather. When we come back, the discussion continue. The show continue rather. Glad to have you back. It's still Business Daily on Trust TV. We now turn our attention to what is happening in the capital market. What are the data saying? We start with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Of course, the all share index at the close of business on Monday, the market closed in the negative again, 1.49%. That was what we get from the first trading day of this week. And the market capitalization also came down, lost close to 500 billion to 27.46 trillion, or the volume of shares traded among all the quoted companies on the Nigerian Stock Exchange came down to just this 226.5 million volume of shares, which was valued at just 1.57 billion naira. But the deals, in a way, actually climbed up to about 16% compared to what we had the previous day, which was about 3,076. So moving on now to the gainers, the stock that actually gained after the close of market yesterday. At the close of the market, indeed, about 140 equities actually participated in the trading. Out of that, 15 gainers were actually recorded, while about 20 losers were recorded. Top on the gainers, we have Ikeja Hotel, of course, which closed strong, 9.48%. Transcorp, of course, it's a conglomerate into insurance, hospitality, oil and gas, and so on and so forth. Trading came second there with 9.47%. And of course, Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC actually completing our top three gainers here, 8.77%. Moving down to the losers, the bottom losers of the day, we have Champion Breweries, is into alcoholic company, down 9.06%. Of course, International Energy Insurance down 6.98%, and of course MTN Nigeria, one of the blue chip company on the bourse of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, also down 6.67%. Let's look at what are the market movers of the day. The top trades stock for the day, we have a Transcorp, of course, very much present, 63.44 million volume of shares, and of course Fidelity Bank, second day running, 41.31 million shares, and Sterling Bank, of course, Nigerian PLC, also doing 22.78 million volume of shares. These were the top trades stock on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange at the close of market on Monday. Moving on to the sector, the performance across sectors. You see that out of the 4 sectors we're actually watching today, 3 of them did very, very well. The insurance sector, NGS Insurance, you have NGS Premium Board. The Premium Board comprises of a stock that with large market capitalization, the like of Dangote, the like of MTN, and of course are actually categorized in this category. Then the NGS banking, of course, all the banking sectors are actually listed in this category, up there 0.08%. Of course, the industrial good is the only one in the negative based on what we're actually looking at today, 0.04%. So these are some of the performance across sector on the floor of the Nigeria Stock Exchange. Let's talk to a stockbroker, an economist and a stockbroker, Steve Nwachukwu. He joins me live from Imo State. Good morning, Mr. Nwachukwu.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Nice to hear from you, sir. You have been following the capital market. Can you tell us what you think about the performance of the bourse yesterday?
Of course, I think it's one of those requirements in the market that at every given time, the market will have a particular sentiment that drives the market. Just like you read that those who performed at the floor of Nigerian Stock Exchange yesterday, the likes of the Transcorp, which has an announcement of a strategic buy interest in Transcorp. And since that announcement came to the fore, investors have renewed their interest in that stock because it seems like there is a strategic buy-in Transcorp as we speak. Transcorp is also leading the market in the top gainers. So the price continues to go up. People are looking for the stock, and those who are strategically buying into it, either to get into the management board of the Transcorp. So overall, the market is relatively still stable. Yes, the mood in the market is quite a bit calm in the sense that the declaration of dividend payments and declaration of first quarter financial or audited financial results are also expected to be tripping in. We had the likes of the UCAP bringing their first quarter, the likes of a couple of them have actually released. So before the week runs out, we could have a good number of these very companies releasing their first quarter, which will also give the market the next breath, which definitely is going to be positive.
You did mention about Transcorp then, and of course UCAP. But let's look at the third quarter result. This is almost April. One would have expected that the third quarter result from many companies should have been in by now, but that is not to be. Do you really think that is one of the reasons why the market is still, not really doing so well in terms of performance?
Of course, by the rules of the market, there are times to release, and most of the companies have voted for release their first quarter 30 days after the quarter has ended. Some are, most of them, yes, 30 days they all voted for. So 30 days get the first. It has not ended because we are just in the 14th or 17th day of March. So there is still room. Have a couple of days, a couple of weeks for those very companies to start releasing. So they're still with the rules, if I may say, because the first quarter ended 31st of March, and this is just about second week of April. So they're still within the time frame release. That's like a couple of days or couple of weeks to come. These companies will start making available. In fact, as we speak, most of them in close period. When we say close period, those who have interest or those who are friends and partners of the management teams are not meant to buy or sell or transact in those such stocks at this period until those very quarter accounts are made available. So it's still within the time frame to release such results. Like I said, next week and days to come, they will start making those results available, and investors will actually react based on the performance of the top and bottom lines of such results, whether good enough or whether stable or whether bad. So investors definitely will react to that, which I expect to be like the one I talked about, the UCAP. It grew it top, the gross earnings for about 27%, even in the bottom line, which is the profit after tax, was up also. So we expect such kind of results to be twinkling in to the market in days to come.
Hello, Mr. Nwachukwu. Before I let you go quickly, the year-to-date as at yesterday was about 1.27%. Now it has come down to 0.21%, though still in the positive. But do you see this being eroded at the end of the business today?
Oh, no, expectedly, this at the end of every quarter, you find that when declarations of dividends have all done, investors most often adjust. And we have witnessed a rush in sell and a rush in buy in some of those very stocks, and which has, yes, investors will definitely adjust and readjust their portfolios based on the performance of that stock. So a couple of them have adjusted in price payment. That's why you saw the 2 or 3% loss week, because when you declare dividend and when you are marked down, the same volume or the same percentage you paid will be marked down. So that was what actually resulted to the that was what resulted to the drop in the price of in the Usher index of Nigerian Stock Exchange yesterday. Last week. So, yes, the market is still relatively stable, and we expect also that investors put in these very best opportunities they have by readjusting their portfolio. And we see the Usher index, just like you said, is still in the positive, from somewhere around 1.27% down to about 0.05%. So we expect the market to be stable, the index closing the year in the positive.
Steve Nwachukwu, economist and stockbroker, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So moving on now to our next discussion. Of course, critical issues concerning Nigeria and of course the rest of Africa dominate discussion at this IMF World Bank spring meeting, which is ongoing in Washington, D.C. It's almost at the conclusion stage. But Daily Trust Deputy Business Editor is covering that event live in Washington, and he joins us via Zoom from Washington. Good morning, Mr. Sunday. Good morning, Mr. Sunday. If you can hear me, can you give us some of the highlights of the discussions at the IMF World Bank spring meeting?
Thank you very much, Yusuf. I hope you can hear me. It's been a week-long full of activities at the World Bank IMF spring meeting here in Washington, D.C. A number of issues have come up for discussions relating to the world, if you like, global economy and regional economies. And most importantly, featuring on those discussions has been the continuous uncertainty globally arising from the Russian-Ukrainian war and the opening up of China, which is beginning to peak after nearly 2-3 years of COVID impact. And for Africa, the conversations have remained largely around debt spiraling beyond control and major economies in Africa witnessing one kind of crisis or the other. We will know about the energy crisis in South Africa to the serious economic crisis in Ghana. And of course, in Nigeria, we are also contending with debts, with nearly 96% of our incomes going into debt servicing and all of that. So these were the major conversation. And of course, we had conversations around renewable energy and efforts to curb CO2 emissions globally to make the world a better place.
Another issue that has also dominated discussion is the issue of tax. That has actually, so much, reaction from Nigeria here concerning that suggestion from the IMF that Nigeria should increase tax. Some actually are calling for, instead of that, why not increase the tax net? How does this come to you?
Well, the World Bank president, David Malpass, made that suggestion in one of those engagements we have with him, about how we can free up more capital, for instance, in Nigeria, to dedicate to other pressing areas. And in his suggestions of what the incoming president or the president in waiting can do to expand revenue is to increase tax. For you will recall that they have repeatedly said that tax to GDP in Nigeria is really very low. So for them, opening up that tax bracket would be one way to bring in revenues. We confronted the Minister of Finance, Zainab, Ahmed, with these conversations around how it is already overburdening for businesses who are contending with raising their own power,
Yeah, let me finish
who
it.
are contending with high energy costs and several other dislocations within our systems to then bear the burden of more taxes. And she said, well, there are several ways they are looking at it, including broadening the tax net because we are doing just about 3% of that right now. There's a need so to increase monitoring and compliance, as the case may be. And she also talked about the new government evaluating what they think is possible within the finance acts that is available to them every year to look at areas that they can get in more revenues. But very importantly, she talked about the need to raise value added tax from the current 7.5% to something in the region of 10% as a low hanging fruit. And several other. You remember this government has also talked about a 10 naira carbonated, a 10 naira charge on carbonated drinks as a way of reducing consumption or even making more money. So, from what she said, they are looking at quite a number of options, but that would be largely that would largely rest with the incoming government and areas where they think they can make more income.
Yeah, I'll not, some of the reaction, maybe I should just read some of them out. The former deputy governor of of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Kingsley Moghalu, did say that more taxes will weaken the purchasing power of individuals and stifle consumption with attendant consequences for social cohesion. Do you think these people are actually talking based on the peculiarity of our environment?
Well, and that's the argument that a number of Nigerians have done. The moment we had that conversation, I had personal cause to speak to about 4 or 5 analysts back home. I spoke with Professor Uche Waleke. I also spoke with Chiza of the big investment group, and of course, another professor. And the arguments were that there is a little understanding of how the Nigerian economy functions, that you cannot continue to overburden people who have been stretched to the limit. There are limits to how much these businesses can take, and a further push would break them. And there's a need for the government to be innovative about how these things are done. And so the Nigerian analysts would favor, for instance, the need to broaden the tax net. There are quite a number of people or businesses operating below the radar that you could do more to bring into the radar rather than confront those who are already, suffering from several legs of taxes to do even more. Businesses are already complaining the economy is suppressed, growth is not exactly in the regions we would like. We've been doing, I mean, we are projected to do just about 3%, but this economy should be doing anywhere around 7 to 10%. So these guys are right. The IMF feel, however, that there are very strong economic decisions that we need to take if we need to get things right. The spending space for critical infrastructure, for health, for education is shrinking, and they are worried about it. But however, the Nigerian analysts will tell you that they are shrinking largely because of spendings around fuel subsidy, and we think that if that goes, it will free up another 6 trillion naira that can be reapplied to other sectors of the economy. And so the debate continue to reach.
Mr. Sunday, in maybe in 60 seconds, the issue of Naira redesign was also brought to the fore. Can you share with us the thought of IMF and World Bank on this?
Well, they've always made their positions known about the timing and whether or not it was right to have had political undertones to the implementation of what is a very critical monetary exercise. And how they think that the implementation may have stifled businesses, especially because the economy is largely cash dependent, and there is also a critical number of economic players in the rural settings that do not have, or rather whose business do not require this inflow into the banks and then outflow and all of that. They really rarely need to depend on cash, and that they felt that the transmission was rather way too swift. But the monetary authorities here will continue to argue that they have achieved largely what they had wanted. They've mopped up over 3 trillion beyond what they had expected. They were hoping to do about 60%. They have done way beyond that. And for them, regardless of how a lot of things have panned out, they consider it as a program that has successfully achieved its objective.
Deputy Business Editor, Daily Trust, Sunday Michael, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Yusuf, and it's a pleasure to talk to you again.
Wish you safe flight back home. Well, that's the size of our show today. If you have missed it, join us on our social media handles for more. I am Yusuf Akogu.